Talofa lava. I'd like to begin by extending the Labour Party's and my own condolences to Efeso Collins' family and his loved ones. Efeso Collins is a larger-than-life character who I've known for many years. I first met him in 1999 when he was the newly elected president of the Auckland University Students Association. And those who have never been engaged in student politics perhaps won't appreciate this, but student politics can be pretty brutal. And we were engaged in a fight about something. We were very good at those. And Efeso stood up to speak at a meeting and cut the tension immediately by beginning with a fairly self-deprecating joke. And he then held the room captive with his oratory for probably about 10 minutes. And I remember at the time looking at him and thinking, he's going to go a long way. He's someone to watch. And certainly through his working life, he has been someone to watch. He has been someone who has made a huge contribution. Our colleague from the Green Party, Tiano, earlier today, described him as the Labour Party's wandering son who wandered to the Green Party. And I think that probably sums him up a little bit. You know, he may not have had a tribal political allegiance in the way many of us do, but he was very clear in his values. And he was very clear about who he was in public life to serve and to fight for. And he absolutely did that. I want to acknowledge the tragedy of his passing just as he arrived here at Parliament. I think, given the opportunity, he would have made an enormous contribution here. But we should never let that detract from the fact that he had already made an enormous contribution to his communities. He was a passionate advocate for Pacifica New Zealanders, a passionate advocate for the South Auckland community that he was born into and that he grew up in and that he was so proud to be a part of. Our condolences also go to the Green Party, who I know are feeling this loss acutely. To all those who worked alongside Efeso in his various public roles, those who campaigned alongside him, and those who supported him, who also will be feeling his loss. And I'm going to hand over now to Carmel, who knew Efeso well, to say a few words, and then we'll take questions.
Talofa lava, everyone. I'm just standing here today to express the condolences and shock and sadness of myself, our Pacific caucus, and I know our Pacific community will be feeling this deeply as well. Our thoughts immediately turn to Fia and their beautiful two girls, and that they will be experiencing the loss more than anybody else. Many of us have known Efeso for decades, not just years, but decades. Many of us studied alongside him, worked alongside him, laughed with him, and so are incredibly saddened by the loss of Efeso. He was a massive advocate for the Pacific community, a massive advocate for the vulnerable, for the poor, for young people, for South Auckland, and his voice, his advocacy was one of the strongest, I believe, in Aotearoa with regards to our Pacific community. And so today, we're just here to express our sadness. As Chippy said, he was a member of the Labour Party for a long time. The way we see it, he moved out of our whale and into the Greens, but it was only next door. So he was still, and is still, considered a member of our family. I'll leave it at that.
Open up for any questions. Gina? Maybe Carmel, why don't you?
He was a big supporter. He was also the person who would not shy away from criticising as well. And in our Pacific community, those two things really do go hand in hand culturally. That alofa, that support, and also holding to account, and sometimes a little bit of criticism. But that was the man that Efeso was, and we respected him for that. And I guess it just shows, again, that he was never scared to say what was on his mind or what he thought. Do you have a favourite personal memory? I don't know about one favourite personal memory. I remember him being the University of Auckland president, and a student president, and looking at him thinking, wow, a Pacific student, a Pacific person is now running the Students' Association and leading the Students' Association. I think that was really indicative of his leadership and the fact that he was always, ambitious to have his voice and the Pacific community's voice heard, and was never scared to put himself up there or out there, to be at the helm, to be leading the fight on any matter, but student politics was just one of them.
Could you talk to us about his ability to be a role model for the community? Because you speak about how, you were in awe of him as the president of the Auckland Students Association. He ran for the Auckland mayoralty, the heights and the bravery that took and what that showed others in the community.
There's the stuff that people would have seen over the years politically, publicly, the fact that he wasn't scared to put himself out there to run for positions that perhaps had never been attained by Pacific people before. But there was also the leadership that he exhibited behind the scenes. There were programs like Dream Whono at the University of Auckland that he was one of the main leaders of, where he was inspiring and encouraging young Pasifika people who were still at secondary school to take the step, to do the mahi, to come to university and to get that university qualification. That's only one of the programs that he was involved in where he exhibited that leadership to our young people. But I saw him do that, and he did it with his true Efeso style, with his words of inspiration, but also his humour and his ability to engage people, including our young people that are not always easy to engage, but he had that skill.
And how hard would that have been? We hear about the good times. What about the difficult times of, being the first and sometimes in those types of roles? And who did he take strength from?
I think it's fair to say with Efeso that he had three priorities, and they were God. So that's the first place he took strength from, his family, and his service to communities. So he took strength from all of those places to help fuel the mahi that he undertook across the course of his lifetime.
Carmel, you were in select committee when this was. What was it like going outside hearing that and sort of go back in and carry on until you knew what was happening?
I'd heard while I was in select committee, so I think Benedict was there. There were some notes being passed around. The chair hadn't heard yet, so I was passing notes with Ricardo and then alerted the chair of the committee and asked if we could suspend the committee and resume the hearing at a later date. He was more than accommodating. He didn't know what had happened until I informed him.
Can I just ask Bart, and I'm sorry to ask this possibly an impossible thing for you to answer, but I'm not sure if you're aware that the last social media post from Efeso yesterday was saying how proud he was of you and your elevation to the finance role. Can you just talk to us about that and the friendship that you clearly have with him? Understandable.
And that, I think that indicates the support that Efeso showed for his Pacific colleagues across Parliament. That was, I believe, the last thing he put on Twitter. But we've all received messages like that from Efeso in the past, including when I became Deputy Prime Minister. Whenever we'd been elevated to roles, Efeso was one of the first to send the message through of support.
Can you speak to us about his life and his two children, the love that he has for them, and the family dynamic there? Because that's very important, as you mentioned, feeling it acutely.
I want to respect their privacy at this time, but even Efeso's maiden speech, he made very clear his love for his wife and his two children. And he has made clear that across every political speech I've ever heard him give, even during the mayoral campaign that he was running in Auckland, he always made a point of acknowledging his wife and his children.
Jenny, when Efeso stood for Cameo, I remember him talking about you being like whānau, and
he loved your country. Could you talk to him as, you know, the MP and the connection he had there?
I've known Efeso since 1991. We were at university together, so I've known him for 33 years. He's one of my close friends at university. I have a lot of alofa for Fia and his 2 kids, and we will really miss Efeso. He is such a huge contributor to Pacific in his advocacy. I will really miss him from the local community too. He lives in Otahuhu, so he's one of my constituents. My thoughts and prayers go out to Fia and the kids and his mum as well.
Are there any words of strength that you can give to, because there's such an outpouring of love that we see across the country from individuals who, you know, speaking so highly of him today? What kind of words of strength and encouragement can you give to people out there who are really feeling it?
There's a Samoan proverb which in English translates to the pathway to leadership is through service. And Efeso lived that proverb, and I think that should act as an inspiration to the rest of us to be reminded of the fact that actually it takes service to be a leader. We're going to await the wishes of the family, and so we'll liaise through the Green Party on that, and then whatever the family wants from us, needs from us, whatever their guidance and direction is, we will take that guidance and direction.
Will you be heading to Auckland, some of you, just be with his family?
We will wait for the direction and guidance from the family. We don't want to impose ourselves on the family, so we're waiting to see what their direction is on that.
And the last time that sitting MP in office passed away, it was Labour's Haere Hurumi back in 2013. I wonder if Chris Hipkins kind of shares some reflections on how this impacts the party and Parliament at a time like this.
I think all politics aside, all parliamentarians would feel this loss, regardless of which party you're a member of. We haven't had a sitting member of Parliament pass away whilst Parliament has been sitting for over 50 years. The most recent member of Parliament to pass away as a sitting member of Parliament was Parikura Horomia, and before him Rod Donald. And so again, I want to acknowledge the Greens today, because I'm sure that Rod will be in their memory today as well. So I've had a lot of messages from the other side of the House today, just extending their condolences and their aroha and support. And I know that Parliament will appropriately acknowledge Efeso this afternoon. Okay, I might let these guys go, and then I understand some of you have some other questions. So. You want to do it later? Thank you. Okay, all right, thanks.